Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. Can we maybe, with a show of hands, just quickly see that you guys can hear me and you can see my screen? If you can just raise your hand if you can. Okay, thank you, everybody. Great. So, thank you for joining me today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Nienke Kruger and I'm the product manager for the financial statements, so IFRS, SME and iXBRL. Today we will be looking at the release that's coming out now and going through all the areas that we have changed. For this session, please use the chat or question functionality if you have any questions. I will, during the session, stop a few times and just go through it and see if there's anything that we need to address. I have put in the chat also that the release notes are available for download. It's in the handout section, so you can just find it there. There will also be a recording made available after the session, so you'll get an email with a link on that. And if you experience any technical issues during the session, we are, as people have load shedding and all of that, please rejoin the session, and if that doesn't work, we will, like I say, have a recording available. But we do have on our side the team checking that it is working all the time. Then firstly, I would like to also say thank you to all our beta clients. They are really a very important part for our release to make sure that we test it in client environments and to provide us feedback. Specifically, Heather, Courtney, Sino, Anine and Cormarie, they provided invaluable insight for us and feedback, and really we do appreciate it a lot. Then the first question that I normally get in the chat function on the question pane is, when is the release date? So very happy to say today. You will receive an email during the course of the afternoon with the information, with the links and everywhere that you can go. So that will be later today. So what we are going to cover today is, like I said, the welcome introduction we've done now. Then we're going to look at the changes for Caseware Working Papers specifically, the financial statements, IFRS and SME. Then I'll pause a bit for questions. So any questions that there is, I'll address them. Then we'll have a specific section on the SAPA update and how that works differently than it has in the past and to the normal financial statements. And then we'll end off with some more questions. Right, so let's get into it. Caseware Working Papers 2022. So the new release will include the latest Caseware Working Papers. And here is some of the features. I refer to the release notes a lot. Please refer to the release notes. They are really giving valuable information on the changes that you can expect. I'm going to highlight throughout the session the most important ones and the ones that we've got the most requests or feedback on, but please go through that in detail. So for Working Papers 2022, we have some automatic document changes. We've added the context selector to uncorrected misstatements, type documents in the consolidated files. The users can select the entity within the consolidated entity structure as context for the document. Then we have the cloud integration for everybody that is on cloud. When integrating with Working Papers with a cloud site, your URLs contain the web protocol, the HTTP or the HTTPS, no longer prevent integration until it's manually removed. The web protocol is now automatically truncated through the URL. Added support for the Microsoft account browser extension. Users' credentials from the extension can now be authenticated, access to content in Working Papers. And then quite a big one is the menu on the Working Papers file, and I just want to give you a bit more detail there. The hybrid cloud firms can now access their cloud integration engagement from their new Caseware Cloud menu on the Working Papers file open file. This functionality is no longer combined with the Smart Sync server menu. So this was quite a big request from our clients. And then there's some various other fixes that they've made on the Working Papers. Please read through them in more detail. Then for you that have been on the webinars before, I'm going to do it a little bit different today. Sorry, I'm just turning on my volume. I've got somebody that's asking for volume. I hope that's better. I'm going to do it a little bit different today. So we're going to go through a user journey. So if you now receive your email and you're very excited and you want to download and you want to see the changes, this is the journey that you will follow. As we go along, I will highlight the changes that we've made, improvements, and I'll also here and there highlight stuff that we've picked up with clients specifically raises concerns. So the first one is the download templates. And if I just go to our community page quickly, so what will happen is you will get an email with a link, and this is where you'll go to download. So if you go here to your name, you'll get here My Software, and there you can download your package. You can also here, while we are on the community page, if you go to like the knowledge base, you'll get all the latest release notes. These release notes are also the ones that I've attached for you. They're also, if you go to your update screen, you'll get a link there. So we're really trying to make it available everywhere. And then if I open like the SME financials one, just to show you how that looks, you'll get your executive summary here, and then your document manager with all your changes. This is the current release. And then if you want your previous release, you can also find that. Scroll to the bottom here in your previous release information, which is our previous release. And if you go to the top, you'll have the download option here to download the PDF. So if I just stop a bit at the, like I said, at the download template. So if you download your package, you will get your Caseware Working Papers and your templates, being it IFRS or SME, whatever templates you use. One of our support calls that come up quite a lot is I've installed or had to reinstall for whatever reason, and now I get errors and it doesn't want to work. So it's very important to remember that although Caseware Working Papers and the templates works completely integrated with each other, and a lot of us see it as one product, it is really two software installs. So you will always have to install Caseware Working Papers first and then the template. If for some reason you install your working papers after you've installed your templates, you will have to reinstall your templates, otherwise you're going to get those errors. So just something mindful of, like I say, your download template normally package it for you in a way that they do install in that way, so you don't necessarily even worry about it. But if you, for whatever reason, just want to reinstall working papers, just remember that you have to install your templates after that. Right, then if we go look at the update options. So there's a few ways that you can create a file in Caseware, and I want to highlight the different options that you have. The first one that you have is your new file. And this is really if you have a new client or you may be a new user from Caseware, then you will do a new file. I think we're all very, very familiar with that. Then you have two other options. And I'm first going to stop at the file name from existing. You normally will use this when you have maybe an existing file, but the file cannot be relied on. So how the file name from existing works, it will take your TB and it will take any journals that you've passed, and it will take your information store, and it will base that file on a new template file. I'm going to come to the improvement now that we've made here. So basically your financials is a completely new document, but anything else that you had in the your info store or your TB, or like I said, journals or group structure, will be retained. If you're older than 2 versions back, so if you don't update regularly, we do recommend that you do a file name from existing, because you should really stay up to the latest update. And then from a technical point of view, it becomes hard. We had clients the other day that called in that is still on a release older than 10 years. You cannot expect to do an update option or anything like that. You would really need to do a new file or file name from existing. And then the last option is the other use case is your firm template. And I'm just going to pause a little bit there. I know we have some clients that do use them extensively, and I know you're quite familiar with the process. But if you have, if we use our update options, really what the update options do in the option at the right, it looked at what is in your file and what has changed in the Caseware template from you updated, from the last time you updated until now. So say you updated October last year, now we've made a change on the rights of use assets, then it will bring that content in. If you ever make a change in your firm template, then the update option won't pick up if you make a change in your firm template that wasn't there before. So for that reason, the file name from existing might be more beneficial if you have a firm template, but it does depend on the level of customization that you do on the firm template. So the one improvement that we've done here, which I'm very happy to share with you guys, is that we now have, like I say, normally on a file from existing, you would have only had a blank template, and anything that can pull in will pull still in. But what we've done is we've put in some data retention on all your input fields. So everywhere where there's yellow cells, those data will retain. So it's not yet the text, it's just the input fields, but we do believe this is going to be immensely valuable in the time saving and efficiency if you do use the file from existing option. Then our last option is the update options, and this is the pop-up box that comes up in the financials, which I'll show just now to you. And you have two options here. You have the full replace and you have the section update. So the full replace, like the name says, is replacing the whole set of financials. The section update is really where we spend our most development time in, and we want to have the most data retention there to only update the sections that we have changed in the update. So again, here the improvement that we've made is to make sure with this release and every release going forward that the lowest section is updated. With what I mean there is, for example, last year we had the old IAS 39 that we've deleted. So instead of deleting the whole trade receivable note or replacing the whole trade receivable note, what we've done is only the section that recon that referred to the IAS 39 recon still, we deleted that section and didn't touch the rest of the note. So in this release, we've done the same. Wherever possible, we really did the lowest level, but it affects you as little as possible. The other improvement that we've made here is if you go and toggle a cell and you update the file, then you'll now have an overwrite indicator on all the fields that are overridden, even if you took the overwrite indicator off in your previous file. And why we've done this is we've had a lot of questions from clients on this when my amounts are not pulling through correctly, or it's not displaying what should be on the TB or anything to that regard. But when we really investigated, we realized it is because that cell has been overwritten. So we believe because we have this functionality, you will be able, and if I say the overwrite indicator is that little red dot, you'll easily be able to see what has been overwritten in the file, and that will make it much easier to review, much easier to provide support on. So that's really quite an important improvement for us. Then there's been one change in our update process, and I'll talk about a little bit more about ISA 315 a little bit later. But what we had to do in this release is we had to couple the financials and the Probe update together. So although the Probe, even if you're not a Probe user, in your document manager, you still use the lead sheets and the sections that are related to Probe, or is developed on the Probe side. So the document manager is shared between all the products. Because there was a big change in ISA 315, we had to make sure that these two update together. Otherwise, your document manager or your balance sheet might have broken the process. So what will happen with this release is as soon as you click on the financials to update, it will also prompt you, like you see at the bottom, to say you cannot continue to update until you've selected Probe. So even if you're not a Probe user, you have to tick it and you have to say update. It won't affect the time that it takes to update because we've spent a lot of time on the update process. It really is just to make sure that your document manager is replaced and everything still is in sync with each other. Then another change that we have in the update process is as soon as you are done with that update screen, you'll get this option or this prompt to say you've done your update and it's been a major process because your whole document has changed. You have to do a repair file. And then what will happen is as soon as you click on OK, you will get the little repair file pop-up box, and you can select all those options and click on OK. It will ask you to back up, so you can do the backup like you normally do, just for if there's any queries or any technical issues that you can go back to your backup. But this doesn't take very long to run, probably between 1 minute and 2 minutes. And then your repair file is done and you can do your all forward. So these are two additional changes. It is in our normal workflow, so I don't expect it to be disruptive at all to you, but really important that you do run this repair file process. Right, and then just important information on the update process. It is always advised to not update a file that is in progress. if there is a case for you to do it, it's really important to note, like I talk now about, we look at all the sections that have updated and we bring it in the new sections. But if you have a file in progress, you're going to have time that you have to go back and spend to make sure that all those changes are in. Like I also mentioned now, you should never copy out your lead sheets financials from different versions. So when we develop, like now, for our lead sheets and our mapping and our financials and our Probe, all the documents work together. And if you now copy over your lead sheets or your old mapping, then that might not talk to your financials, because now we've deleted rights of use, just as an example, we haven't, rights of use mapping for this release, and then the note and the disclosure and everything that goes with it. But then if I go to and I copy over my old mapping, then I will have the mapping but none of the disclosure. So the two really works together, and you should never copy that over, but especially in this release because there's been so many lead sheet changes. And then also just to remember, if you update, then it doesn't just look at the last release, it looks from when last you updated till now, and it aggregates all the changes to include in your file, which is what you want. I think the only important thing here is to realize is if you read the release notes, that is for this release. And then what I've done is I've included the previous release notes, just so that if you didn't update in our June release, but you have some context of what happened there. But if you're coming from an older file than that, then please go to the community and check what else have changed, because that won't be in the release notes, and your file will update with all the changes that I've made up until then. Right, with that, we're going to look at the document manager. I'm just quickly going to double check if there's any urgent questions, but it doesn't look like sound and everything is working. Okay, great. Then our document manager. So like I've mentioned with the ISA 315 changes, all the sections and lead sheets have changed due to this. The document manager will be replaced on all files. So your whole document manager will be replaced. This does not change the update in the financials. It doesn't change the context of the financials. And the only thing that we've done from the financial statement side is we've reordered the financial statement preparation folder. So do take note of the document manager change. And I'm just quickly going to show you a document. So I've got quite a few files to show you different things, and I just want to show you this one. Right, so like I've mentioned, this is, so first maybe let's go to the update options. So if I talk about the update option, you'll get the pop-up screen that comes up when you open a file. Oh, sorry, this is a new file, so this is not going to show me there's no update. But if you do click on check on updates and it's an old file, you'll get the two options to say, do you want to replace, or let me quickly go to an old file that I have open here. There's an old file. So if I click on this one, check for updates, then it will show you the full replace or the update section option. And none of this has changed. The only change here is that you have to select the probe as well to update with it. So let's just give that a second to open up. As you can see, I've got quite a few files open while we wait for that. Right, so let's click on the SME. Then you'll get the new replace financials, and there's a nice description of when you will use it, and your update financials. And as soon as you select that and you click on backup and update, then you'll get the warning message to say that you have to select Probe as well. And if I refer to the release notes, you can see here's a hyperlink as well to take you back to the community to where the release notes are. And then just while we are on this file, you'll notice this document manager says you only have the 3, and then you have the cash flow. And then under other, we have some tax. So just to keep that in mind. And then our lead sheets look like 2021. I'm sure some of you are very familiar with it. If I then go to a new file, you'll see that we've added here the tax documents that you might use for the financials, as well as the new cash flow worksheet in here. So this is a change that we've made in the financial statements, not really significant in order of the document manager, just really putting them all together in one section. If we however go to the lead sheet changes, you'll see these have changed significantly. All these numbers are different, the lead sheets are different, and they're all on folders. I've just opened them all up for you guys to see. So you've got your non-current assets, and then you've got your current assets and all the different sections in there if you use them. Right. With that, let's go back to our slides and let's have a look at our cash flow worksheet. So the cash flow worksheet is one of the big improvements and changes that we've made in this release. There's not been any IFRS 7 changes, so this is not because of a standard change. This is really because of feedback that we've received from clients and also from the regulators, from the JSE, from IRBA, and even from the IASB. And it really is to assist our clients to make sure that what they have on the cash flow is really the cash flow elements, and that all the non-cash flow items has been stripped out. So how we've done this is there was always a cash flow worksheet. We've deleted that. We've got the same number, but that's about it. And how it works is you have a cash flow worksheet that pulls from the TB and the notes, and it updates the cash flow. So that's the important part. So if we look at the financials, how that currently works is if you look, for example, to trade receivable, it will take your movement in your balance sheet. If you can pick up your foreign exchange or something to that regards, it will deduct it, and that will be your figure on your cash flow. But you really don't have visibility of what makes up that number, firstly. And secondly, you also can't adjust it if you don't toggle it and changes. So we've split this out in a worksheet that you have visibility on it, but we didn't want you to go and jump back and forth and have to make changes. If you make one here, you forget to make a journal, all of that. So it all pulls in automatically. It pulls from your TB, it pulls from your notes, and then it updates what is happening on your cash flow. Then my second point, like working paper for visibility, you can see what's been done. If you want to provide it to your auditor, if you're only preparing, you can do that. So it really creates visibility of the figures that is in the cash flow. We currently only did the current year cash flow worksheet. And the reason for that was that your prior year is signed off. So you're not going to do a whole worksheet for a prior year that is already signed off. What we've done is we made the prior input. And if you are updating a file, all the line items that are the same will retain the figures. But if we have split out numbers, so you will see, for example, if we didn't have it under financing and investing or something like that, or other assets was maybe in the note, and now we've moved it to the size. If we couldn't have a one-to-one relation, because we also looked at the cash flow in general and all the feedback that we've received, then we also made those adjustments. So there might be one or two figures that you have to go manually capture in the prior, but it really is where we couldn't match it up one for one, and we rather want you to go and make sure that it is exactly in the right line. So this is really, like I say, very exciting from our side. So let me show you how that looks in my client file. Right. So like I say, the cash flow worksheet you can find here in document 170, and I've got it open already here for us. Okay, so let's first quickly jump to the cash flow. So like you see, my cash flow in the prior year didn't balance because I just updated this file. I haven't captured any figures in the prior. And then all these figures are pulling from the cash flow worksheet. We have put in a refresh button here. If you do get past journals or done mapping, then you can click on that just to refresh and make sure the figures pull through. But we really do advise that you do your cash flow statement last, because it does pull through from your notes and all the other areas that if you're going to spend time on it, you might spend time on it again because those figures are changing. But there is a refresh option. We've also built that refresh option here at the top. I'm just quickly going to open that up. I'm just not showing now because I haven't changed anything, but there will be also here an indicator to say that you have to click on the refresh button. So this is, like I say, how the cash flow looks, very similar in layout, but all pulling through in the current year. But let me show you where the back end, where the magic now really happens. So we have, this is for company. If you have company and group, you'll have this two documents here, company and group. And I'm just going to make that a little bit smaller for real estate. And then we've got some guidance here at the top, quite a lot of guidance. It's just to explain the thought process and how you must use the document to make sure you're as efficient as possible. There is also on the community a how-to document that with some examples and some screenshots to really show you how it works. So please work through this, but we do hope it's quite explanatory. So first section that we have is the statement of financial position. And what we've done here is like my trade receivable example, we've really split out what we've had on the cash flow. So we have our opening balance and our closing balance. And then we have the income statement items, being it your foreign exchange, or you've got your through OCI, and you have these figures pulling through. And then you have here at the end your net cash flow. So say, for example, you had a loan that was repaid by, so you had a shareholder that paid the trade receivables. So normally to fix it, you will have to build them out, because now the cash flow for your trade receivables and for your loans are not correct. But now you can type it in here as other non-cash. And really the end goal is here that it balances the whole time. So you'll see at the bottom, you've got a little balance sheet to make sure your balance sheet balanced the whole time. The retained earnings are here in the middle. Sorry, the retained earnings are here in the middle, that you can also see that. Sorry, I just want to double check. Okay, sorry. Then after you've got your figures here on the right hand side, your net cash in outflow, then those figures then populate to the second section, the statement of cash flows. And we first start with our operating activity. So this is basically your note, and it's just to show you how do you get to those figures. And then you've got your adjustments, again, some input fields for you, and you have your note here. That then pulls through to this working paper, where you can change your default. So say I've got purchases, which just now pulls from my PPE note, but actually some of it was proceeds. So now I'm changing that to that figure. Then you automatically see that that figure now gets adjusted so that it always balances in here. And then if I work down, it's exactly the same for all the figures. And at the end, I have my test of cash flows again. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to go back, and then you see my million has pulled through there. We'll just look at why that's blue, but the million will pull through there. I am still in the test file, so that's probably why. Okay, with that, let me jump to my slides again. And I'm just quickly going to have a look if there's any questions relating to the cash flow specifically, just because it is quite a big area. The rest of the questions I will address in a second. I got somebody that says the screen is not shared. I'm just, but it does. I just want to check here on my side. I just quickly want to double check if you guys can see my screen. Yeah, they say my screen is showing. So if you're struggling to see them, please just log in again. Okay, so I see there's some general questions which I'm going to address now. There's one very specific question on the cash flow. About foreign exchange, which I'll reach out to you and we can just talk about that in a little bit more detail so I can understand the transaction. Okay, great. So then next on our that I want to share with you today is co-ops. So CWWP have mandated certain co-ops to submit iXBRL reports from 1 October 2022, and that's now been extended to the 2nd of January. Because it's not only the iXBRL, it's also their service portal, so that's why it's been extended. And for that reason, we have included co-ops as an entity type. We have included the relevant notes and ACPs, and we also included the pre-tax taxonomy and SME and IFRS. It is very important, this is only available for new files, so you'll have to create a new file if you've perhaps had it before on company or something like that. And that is just because of the taxonomy. We had to tag everything there to make sure that it works. What we've included in the co-ops is the accounting policies for members' contribution, members' reserve, indivisible reserve, and then notes, again, loans, members, reserves, redeemable members contribution, and transaction with members. So if you are interested in the co-ops, if it is the entity type that you do use, similar to trust, it is available in SME English and IFRS, please reach out to your account manager, or you can just pop a question in the chat and I can also reach out to you if this is something that is relevant to you. I'm quickly going to just show you what we've done. Maybe just to interrupt myself, like you see now here on the balance sheet, we have the lead sheets that have also changed here. So this is why these numbers look quite different than it has before, is for the document manager change. So like you can see, this is a standard SME template. We've selected in the info store cooperatives, and then we've got the loans to members here showing. Then we also have a members contribution here, redeemable members contribution here, and we have some reserves. So maybe just to highlight between the members contribution and the redeemable members contribution, we have reached out to some of our clients that specifically deals with co-ops, and also reading through the act and the requirements on that. And it does seem that there is a case that the members contribution can be equity or liability. So we've included both options. It doesn't seem from our perspective that you will have both, you'll have either, but we have included the mapping and the disclosure for both. So this file that have both is just an example. And then the notes that we've included, like I say, there's your notes with the recon for all the years that you require. We've got the members reserve, which is on your, maybe just jump quickly to the equity statement. So you have your equity statement with those columns there with my numbers that's pulling through. And then also, if I jump back to my balance sheet and just quickly go to my reserves note, then you can see my reserves here at the bottom. And here's my share capital that is in my liability side, my members contribution that is there. And then the rest of the notes are the same. So you'll have your standard notes that you require, but you'll have additionally, you'll have the co-ops notes, pre-tax for subsidy taxonomy that you can submit to co-ops if you need to. Right. Then if we go back to our slide, and let's have a look at our IFRS changes. So like I showed you, the cash flow worksheet and the cash flow statement changes is in IFRS and in SME. Important also that we've updated the notes just so that it pulls from the worksheet as well. So that whole package has been changed. Then the cooperatives that I've just shown you, those are also available on IFRS and in SME. Then what we've done additionally on IFRS is the rights of use assets improvements. So the disclosure that we had available for the rights of use assets was what we believe is the compliant disclosure, and we still have that available. But we have had quite a significant amount of clients that asked us for the summary and the recon table like you have for your other assets. And it's not because it's a requirement, it is just because that is what the other assets look like, and the look and feel is now different on rights of use assets. So we have provided that as alternative content, so you can, and I'll show you now how you can just switch it on, to provide you with that layout. So hopefully that will help some of our clients that had to build them themselves to make sure that their financials look uniform. Then we have our new standard changes like always. We have a small tax change, and it's just due to the tax rates that we've put in. We've got some general improvements in our content page, going concern, liquidity and solvency. And those I will show you now and talk through it. Then important, our leasehold property we have deleted. This was only available in Africa. And this is to do with the 99-year leases that they had in Africa. This was implemented before we had IFRS 16, and we do believe that now IFRS 16 covers what they need to for leasehold property. We also had extensive research done on this and with our content providers and content forum, and we did got feedback that that is indeed the case. So we have deleted that for Africa, and the main reason for that was also if you do a console now in South Africa, then you'll have IFRS 16 in South African, but the African entities might have it as leasehold property, and that can create inconsistency. Then we've also deleted the construction contracts and receivable. This is what was done last year with IFRS 15, IFRS 16 the prior year, and this line item still stayed on the balance sheet, so we have deleted that. And then again, I've marked here other. Please go read the release notes. There's quite a few changes that we've made, like directors has or have. This is mostly from client feedback and beta feedback that we've received to automate that as far as possible. So please go and look at the release notes. Let me quickly open an IFRS file, and then we can just go through that. Right, so if I first can scroll down to the director's report. So what we've put in here is the going concern. So my company group figures are the same, so they look currently like they are the same. But we've included both this paragraph, so company and group. We've got quite a lot of feedback, but that is something that you require. It's automated, it works out. But you do need to you have to apply, if it should be on and off, you have to see if it is applicable or not. So we switch it off by default, but this can be switched on now for group and company. Then the liquidity and solvency was a paragraph that was available in Director's Report. It's not a requirement to disclose it, but when we reached out, and I'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about iXBRL as well, this is something that some of our clients want to say, so they want to put it on. So we've just put in the standard wording there that is easy to switch on and off for you to show. Right, and then you'll notice here, and I'm just going to pause here, this section here. Again, this is more for iXBRL. So we had a release in June where the feedback that we've received from SIPC was that your annual financials should really be the final product that then looks like, your iXBRL should look like the final product, including your reports. And then we said, right, what that means for our clients is they have to actually go and type in an audit report or what reports are final that maybe isn't done normally in Caseware. So to help our clients with that, we've built in this function where you can insert an image of the report. And if I just click on here, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I do know everybody did an update. So this is maybe something new that you'll see now that wasn't in your files last year. And you can you can click your add another image, and you can click, you can embed an image here. So if I click on add another image, and I can just quickly browse for one. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen quickly, and I'm just gonna sort that again. Okay, I think we caught up. I think we just had a little bit of a delay there. So all that I've done here is I've selected an image here, and I've selected OK. And then what it will do is it will embed it in the file. So there is on the community again and on the release notes on how to size it, how to embed it. But this is something, like I said, that we've done in the June release. If you haven't updated, it will come up in this update. With that, you'll also see, if I just go to my context page, you'll see that all these reports are available here because some of our clients have used other, but then if they use other, then we can't tag it. So we've just included all the reports for you. We've report 1, report 2, and you can also use this embed function for any report that you do want to include, signed off reports or whatever your requirement is. So if you do notice it, that is where it comes from. Another change that we've made, just while I am on the content page, is the sentence here at the top. Very small change, but this was quite, it was an SME, not an IFRS. If you don't want it, you can just right click on off. So this is quite, we've got quite a few requests for that to be consistent between the two sets. Right, so let's jump to the balance sheet as my next item that I just want to show. Like I've mentioned, the lead sheet changes here. So you'll notice that all these have changed. And then if I go down a little bit more, Sorry, I'm just going to jump to the accounting policies. Okay, so one of the changes that we've made there here again, and this is typically like some of the small changes that we've made, I just want to highlight this one, is the reference to the International Financial Reporting Standards. Their committee now has changed. So there is quite a few of those small changes that you can just take note of. And then as normal, the new standards. We have 2 new standards that we've included, the lease liability and a sale and leaseback, and the initial application of IFRS 17 and IFRS 9. So these are the 2 new standards with all the relevant details that we have in there. Then if we go to our let's just jump to the balance sheet and jump to the note. So like I say, we've included the summary table here at the top. You can just right click on off it if you do not want to show it. And then we also have the recons here as our standard layout. If you want to show the old layout or you're comfortable with it, the alternative layout, like for all our assets, is if you click on this button, you'll have the 2 options and you can bring in the old content. So, and then the other disclosure we have kept because this is specifically a requirement of the standard. Right, and then the last thing that I want to show you guys is just on the deferred tax. Is our tax rate change. So you've got this little paragraph here. It was always there. We changed it a little bit, the subsection, just to give you the capability of putting the percentages and your rate if it's new or old and your dates. Right, I just want to double check if I've covered everything. Yes, I have, that I want to show you. So really, like I said, please go through the release notes. There's quite a few more other items that you can also look at to make sure that you have an overview of that. Right, for the SME changes, we have done similar to IFRS, the cash flow worksheet, co-ops, tax changes, all the same, and then the general improvements on the going concern, liquidity and solvency. So I'm not going to go through those in detail. They're exactly the same in the 2 templates. There is quite a few other things. I just want to quickly go to the community. If I go here and download my release notes. Oh, sorry, I don't want to do that. SME release notes, sorry, that. So I just want to show you so there's our cash flow worksheet, our update process, co-ops. So if you go here to improvements, you'll notice here we've automated this wording, we've removed this wording. So just have a look at that to see and make sure that you are familiar with all the improvements that we have made. Right. Then if we go to iXBRL. So for iXBRL, we've, like always, have done the 2022 taxonomy. We have, sorry, I'm just double checking if a page are moving. Right. Okay. So then we also improvement that we've made here is the mandatory page will retain. I'm sure everybody will be very happy about it because to capture it every time became quite mundane. So that will retain on update. So you don't have to capture the mandatory page again. Then, as I've mentioned, the new reports, if you haven't updated in June, then the new reports will be available. And then another enhancement that we've made is we've made the iXBRL lights, we've sorted the pages that they look the same as the annual financial statements. The order is the same on all those pages. And then I would just like to stand a little bit still on some feedback that we've received from CWWP. And this is general feedback to the market. It's not file or specific, but I do think it's valuable to share. So firstly, I've highlighted again that the iXBRL file should be identical to the final financials. Very important. It can't be shortened. It can't be not all the reports included. It should be a copy of that. And then 3 other things that came up quite a lot. These are not things that we can really from our side changed. It is available in the financials, and I just want to highlight that. They get a lot of the financials that are not finalized after 6 months, which is the company's act requirement. Then they do have a lot of dividends that are paid, but then they don't have liquidity and solvency tests. And this is quite interesting because the request to put that in came from the clients. It's not something that we have put in because it came from iXBRL. And then when we got the report from iXBRL, it was highlighted from their side as well. So that small sentence does seem to be quite significant for various parties. And then the last item that comes up quite a lot is the directors' emoluments that are not in the final financials. This is a requirement. And these are the kind of findings that they have on the iXBRL reports that they then reach out to the clients and say, and they had to liaise with them to understand what is going on there. I am going to take questions in a second. I want to just jump to a few tips and tricks, and I did see a question about the flickering screen, so I will handle that now. So again, I just want to highlight, if you do use the copy component function, it's not advisable that you copy over financials or mapping or grouping from different versions into a file, as it might break certain notes or disclosure or all of that. It does work together. Where the copy components is very valuable is, for example, if you have a group set of financials, it's a new set that you're doing and you want to copy it over, then it's invaluable. So there definitely is use for it, but I do want to caution you, if you copy mapping over from 2, 3, 4 years ago, we do make changes on the mapping. Like I've talked now about the leasehold property, we would have deleted that mapping. If you copy in old mapping, it will be in there. So please take caution there. And then this is something, this little screenshot that I've noticed, and I wanted to highlight this to if you may be updated a file and you have a similar situation. So before update, and I should have just put that in as well, is they had 4 different mapping numbers, A, B, C, D, and then they would have had 4 mapping numbers. But now after update, it looks like it copies row A over to all the rows. This is normally when you do customization, when you've built a little node or you've built in some automation with the super insert function, that this happened. So what happened? So the easy way to fix this is delete it and put it in again. Going forward, it will work correctly. For iXBRL, we use a term called GUIDs. I'm not going to go into too much detail now, but what happens is the super insert function created GUIDs, but that GUIDs was the same for all those super insert functions. This was quite a few releases ago, which we have corrected a while ago, but it seems that it still comes up every now and again. Since then, we've changed the super insert, and I'm going to talk about the super insert, the green plus at the top, that it doesn't put in GUIDs anymore. But now what happens on update is because there's GUIDs retained, it's the same as cell A1 and Excel. All of them looks like cell A1. So what I want to say is if you do get this, please just delete it, link it again. Going forward, you won't have the same issue again. Then the flickering of the screen and the frequent support cases link. I would just like to show you in a file. Just want to see. Let's go to the IFRS one. Right, so firstly, the flickering of the screen. So if you go, the working papers have been shipped this year and will be shipped this year with this option selected. So if you go to tools and you go to options, sorry. Sorry guys, I'm going to find that now. I'm now under tools to show you repair file. So sorry, let me just go back there. If you go to tools, repair file, this is where you will get the box of all the ticks that you have to do after an update. If you haven't done that, then you want to do it, you can just come here and you can run the update. For the other ones, so I have to be in the financials. If you go to tools options there, then you'll have here under interface, enable multiple document windows. And what that we talk about the flickering of the screen, I don't know, it looks like you can't click on anything and it looks like it flickers. You can deselect that option and it won't do it again. So we've tested it. We have provided this feedback to the clients that calls in for it, but and we are shipping with that by default deselected. But if you have the issue, just double check that it is deselected there. So again, in your financials, just to highlight again, you're in your financials, not in working papers like Anna was. You go to options and you go to interface and enable multiple document windows. You just make sure that is unselected. Right, if we jump back to the IFRS demo file, just at the working papers, I just want to also highlight here at the top, we have the top financial support cases with a hyperlink. If you click on here, we update this, we set monthly and we see what is the case that comes up quite a lot. And we updated here how to do certain things, how to fix retained income. We'll put in the cash flow here now so that you have it all in one place. So if you come across something and you are not familiar with the community yet, this is also in your file available. There is also some links here, how to browse, your knowledge base, your live chat, all of them available here. And like you also can see the live chat in here. So please use these functions to communicate with us and to reach out if you have any issues. Right, so that was the flickering screen. And with that, just one more area that I want to cover before I'm going to look at the questions and look into SAPA. Just want to we have had quite a few questions about IFRS 17 and how it impacts us, and if we're going to have an insurance template. So we're not going to have an insurance template as such, just because we normally don't do industry-specific templates. But what we've done, and consulting have done, is they've created an accelerated template that you can use with the standard IFRS template. So it is a template that they've got the additional liquidity method for statement of financial position. They've got some segmental insurance portfolio disclosure. They've got multi-column segmented notes, flexible lead sheets, insurance-specific mapping. So this is, so you'll still have your standard IFRS, and this is an add-on that you can have, and that's why we call it an accelerator. It's only available in South Africa. But if you do want to get into contact with our consulting team on this, you are more than welcome to speak to the account manager. Again, drop it in the chat and I will reach out to you. Right, and now I'm going to have a look at our questions. Like I said, I might not be able to get through all of them. I'm going to try to answer some that I think will be most relevant. And if there is anything, I will reach out to you afterwards. So I had a question about the recording. Like I said, that will be emailed, so you're welcome to see that. The other thing that I just want to mention is with the document manager changes and the probe changes, they have had a roadshow that was running this past few weeks, and they visited some areas, and there was a webinar last week Friday. I am going to put in the chat now the recording if you have missed it, because normally the watch the webinar, the financials and the probe is working together. So if you do want to watch the recording, have more details on the changes there, you're welcome to find it in the chat. Then I had a client that asked if we if she can check if she's on the latest version. We haven't released yet, so you will be on the last one that we released was 2021-02 and then 01-02 at the back. So that was the one that was in June, and then last year would have been 2021-01 with 01-02 at the end. So you will definitely not be on the latest one, but hopefully by this afternoon you will be able to download all of that. Then I've got a question about the mapping. We should not copy mapping numbers of all the versions when we are using the updated version. I think you have, my short answer is no. You have to be because you're not going to have the template and the notes that updated. So, and I would also like to understand why you would want to copy it over. So I think there, if you do have more feedback, I will definitely reach out to you, but you will lose the syncing between the financials and the mapping if you update, especially if we have a lot of mapping changes. So in each we do limit the mapping changes to really what is necessary, because we know that it's really the backbone of financials and all that. But when there's compliance changes, we do have to change it. So I would not suggest to copy it over. I would rather go to your release notes. We have sections there to say which mapping we've changed, and rather make your mapping, if you've added mapping, add that again. Then I've got a question on how to stop updating the template. So you will get a prompt screen to up. So if you install Working Papers and the new template now, you will get the Working Papers will give you the first update option to say, you must make a backup because you're going to update your Working Papers 2022. You don't have a choice to do that because all our templates are done on 2022, but that's only the Working Papers. So you're going to click OK, you're going to back up, and it's going to continue. Then if you open your financials, you're going to get the update screen options, and you can just click on cancel and then you can continue. So you don't need to update your financials, and then that will still work fine. If you then want to update it later, then you can go to the check for update that I've shown and you can update it there. So the financials you should never update in progress, but your Working Papers you can. And that's why I say they work very closely together, and we see it very often as one, but really it is two different software applications. Okay, then I've got here, just going to see if there's maybe one or two questions more. I've got a question here about moving from IFRS, full IFRS to IFRS for SME. I would start a new file from scratch. There is mapping. When we can, we try to keep the mapping consistent between the two, but there is areas of mapping that is not the same. For example, financial instruments in IFRS 9, you have now an IFRS, and now you don't have it in IFRS for SME. So if you copy over the mapping, especially if you now copy over account, trial balance, mapping number, that is actually going to create that unnamed mapping in your SME mapping structure, which will not be right. So I would recommend to map it again. There are two different standards where we do try to keep the mapping numbers consistent, but IFRS have a significant amount more mapping than SME does. So that was just one of the other questions. I've got a question here about the embedded option. Must it be a picture or PDF? It must be a picture, it must be an image. If it goes over 2 pages, you can add more than 1 page. So you definitely can do more than 1 page. I do recommend go and read on the community. There's not steps ways on how to size it to make sure if you do want to print it, it still prints legibly and all those things, but it has to be an image. Okay, there's quite a few other questions which I just want to see. That is very specific treatment. I do have one question that I do think is relevant to everybody that I just want to address, is can we wait until June next year to update? So one of the decisions that we've made last year is that we don't really want to update in, have 2 updates a year. Have a June and October. Where we can and where compliance allow it, we only want 1, which would be in October, November. And the reason for that is just the Working Papers release come out then. So Working Papers, Audit International, all of them work then at the same time. So if there is a compliance driver to release in June, we will. Like this year, what happened with the iXBRL is something that we only became aware of after our October release. So therefore, we have now included it there, but we do not plan to have a June and October release. We really found that most of our clients stay on 1 release. They don't update twice a year. So we rather want 1 bigger release towards the end of the year. Like I say, except if there is a compliance reason for us to do it, or like we had when IFRS 9 came out, that it was such a big change that it was better to split it out in 2 releases. But for now, definitely for the next year, we are not planning a release in June. Okay, there is quite a few more questions, which I will address in the next section. I just want to make sure that we get through all the contents. Right, then sidebar specific. So SAPA, if you are a SAPA user, we are migrating all the SAPA users to our SME products. So what has happened, you would have received an email to say that your license be converted from a SAPA bundle to an SME bundle. From this release, you will have access to the SME template, including Probe compilation. You do not have to do anything more from your side. So your license was automatically updated. When you receive this the email with this release, you will be taken to the download page where you download SME financials. So that is the process on how it works, or how it's changing. So how the product is changing, your document manager will be updated to include Probe compilation and the new leads due to the ISA 315 update. You can choose to either use the Probe compilation working papers. I know some of you have already used it with review, or you can use the SAPA working papers that are available on the website. So SAPA is continuously working to update those working papers. We found we put it in the product, but then they update it, and then there's no way for us to update it, especially if we only release once a year. So we feel more comfortable that you will have the latest information if you work directly from the SAPA's website. You can still drag and drop the document in the document manager. I'll show you now how to do it. So any file documents that you do want to pull in, you can, but as a standard, you'll have the Probe compilation. Like I said, our ISA 315 change is in all our document managers. So for that reason, it just makes sense to do this all simultaneously. But it is very important that there was no change to the financial statement update process. So if you have a SAPA file, your document manager will change, like for all the other clients. The document manager will change, but your financial statements will retain. The update process will work exactly like it has in the past. So there's no change or additional work that you need to do there. And then just on your license statement, like I say, you'll have your Caseware SME bundle, which is now your new license that you own, and you will have Probe compilation included. I just want to quickly show you. So this was the SAPA file that you had before. So like I say, so what's going to happen is your financial statements, this folder here, these documents will retain, they will move to the top like our SME template, and your document manager will be replaced. And then maybe in general, I'm just going to drag this to my other screen, is if you have any file that you want in your document manager, I'm just going to drag this audit report, you can really drag and drop it anywhere. So if you want to, and there it added my audit report that I've just embedded in the other file. So any working documents or that you want to use, if it is still the ones from SAPA's website that you want to use, you can just drag and drop there what you get from their website. Okay. So that was the biggest SAPA change that we have made. And now I'm going to stand still and look just again if there's any other questions. I'm going to quickly scroll through. I've got a question. If you can delay, and that's a question that Shane had. You asked about the June, and I was asking, can we delay this update? Shane, you can. If you don't want to install the working papers and this template, for whatever your firm reasons are, you can. That is up to you, and I think it must make business sense on when you choose to update. We have quite a few clients that, if you're a corporate client, you probably won't download it now, you'll probably download it closer to the time. But we also have clients that rather do their roll forwards early, and they want to be on the latest iXBRL and all of the technical enhancements, so they update early. So it really, when it makes sense in your business to be the least disruptive, is when I say when I would recommend you should update. But to install the latest template or working papers will not automatically update your files. But if you have engagement files that are on 2022, they won't be able to open on 2021, which is also very important. So you can't have some files on one and some of the other on the same machine. So definitely it must make sense for your business on when you update. Okay. I had a question here about the iXBRL template for Mauritius. I'll reach out to you. iXBRL that we currently have in South Africa is specifically for CWWP. So iXBRL as a taxonomy is used globally. So we haven't explored any of the other territories that do use it. We have some that use it for tax. We have some that use it for different reasons. So in South Africa, it's used by CWWP, which is our company house. But we haven't explored it further, but I would definitely reach out to you further. Then I have someone ask about the lead sheet numbering change. So the lead sheet numbering change is if you go into the standard that changes ISI 315 and the recording that I've sent, one of the areas are that you have to have sections and you have to determine materiality and risk and all of those things on a certain level. And I'm not going to go into too much detail and really do watch the recording because Christian spent a lot of time explaining it in there. But basically what that means is the level on what the auditors and how they group things together had to change because of the standard. And that's why the document manager changed. So the mapping that we have, that builds the financials, but the lead sheet is how the auditors group items together to audit. So because of the standard change, it affected the lead sheets and affected the numbering. So in the past, I think there was about, and I'm speaking on a correction, so 20 lead sheets, 25 lead sheets, when now there's over 80. So it wasn't just to add a few numbers, it was a substantial amount that had to change and therefore did the renumbering as well. Okay. Right, so I think that, like I said, there is quite a few more questions, but I will definitely reach out to you. I do think they are very specific to you. And just want to double check, yeah. Okay, so that is it from me today. So thank you very much for your time, really appreciate it. Please do reach out, send comments on the chat. If you do have any feedback or suggestions, please reach out to support or your account manager, drop them a mail and they can forward it to me. If you do have any feature requests or if you wanted to be part of our beta process next year, please do let me know. Okay, thank you very much and have a lovely day.